to Simply Good, Cooking with Rebecca. Today I'm making split pea soup. This is probably my favorite soup. It's low in fat, low in salt, and high in fiber, and it's delicious. First thing I'm going to do is get my onion chopped up in the food processor. Once my onions are chopped, I'm going to take my ham steak, which is the ham I like to use in split pea soup. You can use a lot of different kinds of ham. I've used leftover ham from Easter. I find that ham steak is the easiest and it tastes really good. I've even used bacon if it's the only thing I have in the house. I just don't like the flavor quite as much. But you just want to cut this into about 1-inch pieces or so. Once your ham is cut into pieces, I'm just going to take my ham and my onion over to the stove and get my soup going. Okay, I've got my pan over high heat. The ham is already cooked, but I'm just going to render some of the fat off. Okay, I've got the fat kind of rendered out of my ham. So now I'm going to add my onion. Okay, my onions are in and they're nice and translucent now. The next step is to add 4 cans of chicken broth. To my 4 cans of chicken stock, I'm going to be adding 4 cups of water. Yeah, that's a lot of liquid for the amount of split peas I'll be using, which is 1 pound. But because I make potatoes and carrots in the soup also, I find that the potatoes help thicken it up, and if you don't add extra liquid, they won't cook very well. So to that, I'm going to add my 1 pound or 2.5 cups of split peas. Okay. My split peas in, I'm just going to give that a quick stir. And then I'm going to be adding some seasonings. I'm going to use salt. Well, I'll wait for the salt until the end, but possibly salt, pepper, and bay leaf. And then you're just going to let this cook on a low simmer for 2.5 hours until the split peas have just made like a thick broth. They'll dissolve, basically. Pepper. Okay, with my pepper and my 2 bay leaves in, just gonna stir this, put the lid on, and I'm gonna leave my pot on high until it comes to a boil and then reduce it to a simmer for about 2 hours. My split pea soup is just about ready to have its vegetables added. I'm gonna be adding potatoes and carrots. I'm adding 8 potatoes and 7 carrots. And for this dish, I leave the skin on the potato. I find that this is a dish where I actually like the skin on my potato. A lot of nutrition is in the skin of the potato, and it adds a nice little rustic feel to the soup. Alright, now that my potatoes are cut up, I'm just going to add these to the pot and then come back and cut up my carrots. I've added my potatoes to my soup. You want to be sure at this point, if your soup is on a low simmer, that you turn it back up to bring it to a boil so that it cooks the potatoes and the carrots. Next, I'm going to peel and chop my carrots into roughly the same size pieces as the potatoes. Alright, once your carrots are all chopped, they just go into the soup, and I don't worry too much about, I'm going to try and keep my chop somewhat consistent, but I'm not real picky. I just like to feel like the feel of a more rustic soup with a more uneven chop. Now that my vegetables are in the soup, I'm just going to let that boil for about 30 minutes, just until the vegetables are tender. So my vegetables have been cooking for about 30 minutes or so. I'm just going to check and make sure that they're tender, and then check the soup for seasoning. My vegetables are perfect. And the salt and pepper level in the soup is just right. So turn the heat off and we're finished. Our split pea soup is finished and ready to eat. At my house, we enjoy this in either a bread bowl or with some nice San Francisco sourdough. It's warm, it's comforting, it's simply good.